This is the Parramatta Cave podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Eels Club, and co-sponsors Beau Cook from Loan Market, Scott from Brightside Detailing and Ceramics, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, the official clothing partner of the Parramatta Cave podcast, and the official media partner of the Parramatta Cave podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Parramatta Cave podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Parramatta Cave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another cracking episode of the Parramatta Cave podcast. And this week it is this is the interview style podcast, and this week it is with a Eels fan. Now, back to the fan series. It's always great to hear the fans of rugby league clubs and their stories about how they support their team, their favourite players, moments, tries, memorabilia, all that sort of jazz. So, and it's even better, I think, with myself being a Parramatta Eels fan, chatting to another Parramatta Eels fan and getting their perspective on the club and how they support the club and their views and the like. So this week we have Edwin Smith. He is the head honcho of a social media business called The Social Sandwich. Now, if you haven't checked it out, check it out on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter and the like. It's called The Social Sandwich. Now, he is a bit of a social media guru, having worked on Channel 10 on some various shows on there, like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Australian Survivor and Channel 10 Sport as well. Now, he's done the social media for them. So he's a bit of a social media guru, so he can help you improve for your business, your social media channels, and increase your followers and the like, and help you create award-winning content. So check him out. It's on The Social Sandwich. It's on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook as well. So check those ones out and give him a follow and check out his reels, and you'll pick up some tips. I certainly have looked at his tips on Instagram and have started using them myself. And yeah, it's all good, all very well and good. So check that one out as well. But this chat is about his support for the Parramatta Eels. So during the chat we talk about, as I said, favourite players, moments, games, tries. We talk about this year's team as well and how they're tracking for season 2023. A little bit about last year's grand final as well against the Panthers 2022. And we also dive into a little bit of the social media stuff as well, what he is currently doing as well now. So a really interesting chat. It's always great, as I said, to talk to rugby league fans, because without the fans, rugby league doesn't have a game, I reckon. And great to hear another Parramatta Eels fan talk about their love for the club. Now, this wouldn't be at all possible without the help of the sponsors. Major sponsor, Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Eels Club. Beau Cook from Loan Market, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Teamwear, the official apparel sponsor of the Parramatta Cave podcast, and the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Parramatta Cave podcast. More details about the sponsors of the Parramatta Cave podcast after the chat with Edwin. So, enough of me talking. You want to hear his story about his support for the Parramatta Eels. So, as Hindy says,
get a beer, coffee, whatever you want.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy, and let's get straight into it.
Yeah, g'day everyone. My name's Edwin Smith. I work for myself running a little social media business called The Social Sandwich. And yeah, I'm a massive Para fan. Always look very closely at the Parramatta social media in particular to make sure they're doing a good job. But yeah, love my Eels, and yeah, excited to chat about them today with you, Troy, on the Parrot Cave podcast. Big fan of the podcast as well, and yeah, I think we've even crossed paths over the years with a few different things, which is be cool to chat today.
And as you heard from his intro, my guest today on the Parrot Cave podcast is Mr. Edwin Smith. Now, he is a massive Parramatta Eels fan, but is also a massive social media expert as well. He's the head honcho of the Social Sandwich. You might have seen that on social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and the like. And he's also had some big experience on some Australian TV shows as well in the social media space. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, just to name one of them. Welcome to the Parrot Cave podcast, Mr. Edwin Smith.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Troy. Yeah, I'm excited to chat about, probably one of my favourite topics in the world, which is Parramatta. And yeah, excited to have a look back as well, because often I feel like I'm only ever thinking about the current Parramatta and, what's happening this week and how they're going to go versus taking a bit of a step back. So, yeah, excited.
No worries. Well, thank you very much for joining me. And look, we'll start with, how did you pick Parramatta as your team to support in rugby league?
Well, mate, it's a weird one for me. I grew up on the south coast of New South Wales, so there wasn't an obvious choice of which footy team to support. It was, in terms of logistics, it was maybe Canberra, or maybe the Dragons. I think Dragons were a little bit further away, but even then they were probably about 2-3 hours away. So I didn't have that kind of initial, this is who you're going to go for. And my dad as well wasn't a diehard fan of any team, so he never forced a team on me. But it's weird actually. The reason why I started supporting Para was I always loved Clinton Schifosky back in the day.
Yes, yeah.
And I think right when at the end of his Para time was around when I first started watching footy, and it must have been like late 90s, I reckon, because I'm only just 33-ish, so that was kind of right when I started watching.
Yep.
I think I loved him for about a year, and then he left. And he went to the Raiders. Yeah. And so I was like, man, I think I can't remember the exact time, maybe I was 7 or 8 or something. And I was like, should I keep supporting Schifosky because I loved him so much, or do I stick with Para? And ended up just, for whatever reason, my 8-year-old self was like, nah, stick with Para. I always liked blue as a colour, so I think that probably helped to stick around. And yeah, ever since then, I think I invested pretty hard into supporting Para, and yeah, I still remember crying after the 2001 grand final when they went in as the hot favourites and got dusted, and still remember watching that game and just being heartbroken I was 11 at that stage. But ever since, it's been as many Para fans, right? A bit of a love-hate relationship and a few tough times, but I'm glad that while Canberra would have been an interesting one to go for, or the Dragons maybe not so much, but actually I probably would have had a premiership if I had gone for the Dragons back in the day. But very happy to have stuck it out with Para, and here we are.
Well, I'm glad you stuck with Para. Probably a little bit similar to myself actually. I was about 8 when I first started following Parramatta, and in those early days of Parramatta, they didn't make the semi-finals, and after that great period in the 80s, so Canberra was my second team. So
and it was with me, Canberra kind of stayed my second team, and I actually went to uni in Canberra, and so I studied sports media, and this is kind of pre-social media basically, but I wanted to be a journalist, and a sports journo was always my goal. And so ended up going to obviously a bunch of Canberra games, and even got to know a few of the players because I'd use them as for like interviews with assessments and stuff. So still have a little bit of a soft spot for the Raiders, as spent a lot of time watching them or getting to know some of the players. So yeah.
Nice. We mentioned Clinton there. Who else were your favourite Parramatta players when you first started supporting the Eels?
Yeah, always, Sikorsky. I was in that, that era where like Nathan Highmarsh was probably the guy for me, where just loved the way that he went about footy and just the heart that he had. So probably him. I've got a soft spot for a lot of the players around that era. Your Luke Burt, he was kind of prime when, I was a kid. So I always, just remember him scoring tries and slotting goals for fun. But then, so those two kind of jump out. A few, always liked, a flashy forward or centre. So like like Felipe Mateo in his prime was always one with the offloads and the stuff that he would, and like a Chris and Inu type, even like Brad Takarangi in the kind of later years. So those guys kind of jump out as some of the ones, like it's a bit always tricky to talk about now with the kind of off-field stuff, but obviously the Jared Hayne run of 09, I was probably 19 there, but we'll always kind of remember that. And, some of the tries that he put on that year and the kind of run we went on, that would always, always think of that as like a really kind of special time as a Para fan. So,
yeah, definitely. That was a great run there. Do you remember your first Parramatta game that you went to live and watched, and where it was?
It's a good question. I don't actually know. I remember the first league game I went to was the Raiders and Dragons from memory.
Okay.
But because we kind of, where we lived was probably about 4 hours to Sydney, so it wasn't like we could kind of just duck in and go see Para on the weekend. It was always a longer kind of trip than that. So, I couldn't tell you actually. I wonder. Yeah, I wouldn't even have tickets or anything for that. I have no idea.
Would they ever have played down in Canberra or Wollongong? You would have seen them down there, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah, I reckon maybe at like a Wynn Stadium.
Yeah.
I feel like they haven't played much at Canberra. I remember even when I was at uni, I don't think they played there once when I was there, which it was always looking at the draw every year and going, what the hell? They're not playing this year. And then they might have played once, and I was away at a wedding or something, and so I was like, God, this is the 3 or 4 years that I was there. It was it was terrible, but I don't think so. It probably would have been at Wynn Stadium, I reckon, the first one, or maybe like a finals game, at like an ANZ maybe might have been one. I remember I could have also been, my brother supports the Tigers, so we've been to quite a few games. I remember we went to Campbelltown one year, and we'd been to quite a few of the Easter Monday games as well. So if I had to guess, it might have been one of those, but yeah.
Would that Easter Monday game of 2019, would that stand out as a favourite game, or is there another game favourite Parramatta game that you've really enjoyed?
I do remember, and I put on a jacket the other day that I haven't worn in years, and it had my ticket from that 2019 game in there. And I was like, that was a bit of a throwback. Probably the one though that really stands out was the 09 semi against the Dogs.
Oh, yep.
And so, I kind of road tripped from Sydney with a few mates, from Canberra, sorry, because I think I was at uni at that time, and came up to Sydney for that, and remember just like, I don't know how many people. It must have been close to a full house.
Yeah, I think there was about 70-odd thousand there. I think.
Yeah, and just like, remember the noise was just insane, and this is really testing my memory, but someone took an intercept with like to kind of seal the game, and I don't know if it was I want to say it was Luke Burt, but I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Eric Growth Jr., maybe. But whoever, like, someone took an intercept, and I still remember that, like, just cheer as he, like, ran, 70 meters to score. And, like, that game will always be kind of the game that I'm like, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, no, a lot of people say that game, the prelim final of 209. It
Yeah.
was.
What's your fave? You've been to a few now.
Yeah. Funny enough, probably Brisbane and Parramatta up at Suncorp. It was the first time I think I went up to Suncorp for an Eels game. The night 52-34, the night that Semi scored four length of the field tries. That was amazing, that one. But
that's a fun one, yeah.
Yeah, he was on fire that night. Long range tries, all of them, and I think Kirisomi Avaa scored the fastest ever NRL try after 11 minutes.
When who was it knocked the ball in off the kickoff?
Adam Blair. I don't know whether he got hit hard by the defence or he was trying to offload or what.
Yeah, trying to do the weird offload thing. Yeah, God, that was good.
Yeah, so there's that one. There's obviously the Easter Monday at Combank Stadium, the opening game, the semi-final against the Broncos, 58-0. For me, any victory against Penrith is good. Living in Penrith.
When was it last year when we played Canberra, was it? At Combank.
In the semis?
Yeah, in the semis. And that one, I reckon, I'll look back in a few years and be like, that was pretty good. Because I think that was a game, right, when Moses kind of scored in the corner and he was like in that corner. And so we kind of watched him, we're like on the 20 and kind of watched him make that, he makes that run, like diagonal run, just makes a beeline for the corner.
Yeah.
And then we were kind of, I was there with a mate and we were just like cheering him on. And that was like, just because of how close you were to that as well, that was pretty good.
Would that rank up as one of the best tries you've ever seen from a Parramatta side?
Yeah, I reckon that one probably one of the Easter Monday as well. But yeah, I reckon that one stands out for sure. Just again, because of like the atmosphere around and just like the view we had as well. Like I was in combat, it's just like the view's amazing everywhere you are. So
what are your thoughts of Combank Stadium compared to Parramatta Stadium and other stadiums?
It's got to be one of the best stadiums in Australia. You'd have to say. The only other one that it really reminds me of, like when I was out of uni, I spent a year and a half living down in Melbourne. So I worked at Tennis Victoria. It was like my first job and was doing kind of like website articles and stuff. But their office was literally underneath Amy Park. So spent a lot of time at Amy Park. There'd often be just a Storm game on a Friday. So I'd finish work and walk up the stairs and go to the Storm game, or even it was kind of right when like the A-League was good. If you remember back
in Melbourne,
that was like there was, and like Victory were good, so went to a lot of like Victory games, and that stadium was like just the noise because it kind of all keeps it in with the little bubbled roof, and again you don't have there's no bad views there. It's kind of wherever you are, you just get that sick view. So that's another stadium that I think definitely reminds me of. I've been up there with you. I've been to Suncorp a few times now for, I think probably for Magic Round, maybe the main times I've been there, but just those ones where you get the kind of the rectangular kind of custom built ones, custom built for rugby league. They're pretty good. So love a bit of that. I haven't managed to get to Townsville yet, so I'd like to go and check that stadium out because I've been to an old and different game, like when they had the old stadium at Townsville, but not to the new stadium.
Same. I've been to the old was it Dairy Farmers Stadium? Dairy Farmers, haven't been up to Queensland Country Bank Stadium now, but get up there one day. But you mentioned the Storm there. Are they your fiercest rivals? Are they the team you want Parramatta to beat every week or every time they play, or is there other rivals?
I feel like it changes a lot. I remember it used to be like Manly and the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Always used to hate them. Even like the Broncos, for some reason, I just hated the Broncos. I think I hated like a few of their players, and just always wanted to beat them. I think when the Broncos were kind of bad for a few years, I lost the hatred, and then as Manly kind of changed their roster, and they're a bit less hateable now with like the Trebojevic brothers. I feel like you can't really hate them. They're pretty nice guys. So yeah, definitely still get a kick out of, because I feel like we've been pretty good against Melbourne as well. So
yeah, we definitely
last few years, like when we beat them, it's always feels good, and probably in the last few years as well, like just against Penrith, where again, we seem to do pretty well against them. So when we have those gritty wins where we just kind of hold on, and those ones feel pretty good too. But yeah, definitely don't like Melbourne, and I feel like I've never liked Melbourne. It's been steady. It's been a constant. Since the Cam Smith times, I'm always like, nah, not about Melbourne. And yeah, so maybe between Melbourne and Penrith at the moment, I would say would be the ones that you kind of go, would love to win this one.
Yeah, no, they're for sure. As you said, the rivalry between Manly and Bulldogs has probably fallen off a little bit in terms of the intensity, I guess. Maybe not this year with the Bulldogs, with Reid going over to the Bulldogs, but
yeah, but even last week, because I was actually kind of worried. I was saying to a few mates, I'm like, I feel like the Dogs always, even if they're shit, they're always good against Para.
Yeah.
And I was pretty worried about how that game would go, but even if I feel like the first maybe 20 or 30, the Dogs were pretty good in that game, and they were looking pretty dangerous and pretty free-flowing, but it obviously didn't end up being that tricky of a game. I always feel like they come fired up against Para, which usually makes for a good game.
Yeah, no, that's it. Well, you mentioned the grand final in 2001, and obviously Melbourne, we played them in 2009. Have you been to the Parramatta grand finals? Any Parramatta grand finals?
No, so it's just last year. So managed to get tickets last year. I ended up just kind of lucking out, and had a mate who works at NRL, and he didn't want them, and so he had 2 tickets, and so me and my other paramate ended up going along. Didn't make the 2009 grand final because we did the semi-final the week before.
Okay. Yeah.
And being in Canberra and had uni and all that stuff happening, it was just too hard.
Yeah.
And then, 2001 was just too young. So it was cool. Yeah, it was a great experience last year. We went to the one of the ANZ, the pubs outside of the stadium before the game, and kind of just there's Para fans everywhere, and it was pretty awesome. It was obviously just ended up quite disappointing. And I feel like I could tell from, I was about 20 minutes in, and I was like, there's no way we're winning today. Which I don't know if it made it easier or harder, but just knowing from then, I was, didn't have that hope. It was just like, oh God, this is going to end badly. I just wish that we had a moment, something, like a Moses try, just something where the crowd just goes crazy. And I feel like Penrith I feel like there was more Para than Penrith there.
Oh yeah, there was. Yeah.
There was just no moment to kind of go, oh, we lost, but we had that kind of
that moment,
crowd, that moment to look back on. So yeah, but it was still good to be there, and I know I'm talking myself into Para turning the season around over the last few weeks, and getting my hopes up again for this year.
Well, I thought the stars were all aligning, and they had Barnesy pre-game, and Parramatta playing Penrith, and Para fan living in Penrith. I thought all the stars were aligning and going to get together and be the year. But let's talk about this year. How do you think we're travelling this year, the Parramatta Eels? Do you think, as you said, do you think they may have turned a little corner in the last few weeks?
It's been a weird year, and I ride the roller coaster always with Para, where
we all do.
Quite know. Yeah, if I'm, if I'm super confident, if I'm confident, I'm overconfident. If I'm down, I'm just, I think that we have no hope. But I feel like not once this year have I thought, that we were a bad team, that things weren't looking good. like obviously I feel like every loss we've had has been, by 2 or 4 points, and we've kind of been in every game. We've been really unlucky in games where, it's a toss of the coin kind of game where
Yeah.
they've just had a loss, and I've always just felt like I haven't left games being like, fire, we just played so bad. That was terrible. Like, what do we do? It was more, we stuck around. Like, we should have won. Maybe, a bit more finishing, a bit more control at the end. We would have been better. But yeah, I haven't really been that worried, which has been kind of nice. Like, I've just always thought, we were going to bounce back. We are going to string some wins together.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have seen that actually happen over the last few weeks where, despite missing forwards, missing Moses, missing players, missing Brown, like, it seems like we're starting to win those games and playing pretty well. And I also feel like they're kind of going under the radar as well. Like, you hear, everyone's kind of going, oh, Penrith and South are looking good, and Broncos obviously good, but then there's like, maybe the Sharks or the Warriors, or, I don't think they're really getting, at least in like the kind of circles that I'm listening to, they're not really going, oh, Para could, cause some damage, later end of the season. But I know it's such an open comp too. Like, I think Penrith aren't quite as good as what they were last year. South are, they're good, but they can leak points, even though they usually kind of belt us. So maybe I don't really want to be like coming up against them anywhere.
Although we did get them this year.
Yeah, that's true. And Broncos fell away at the end of last year. So there's like all these things that's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm just being like a silly, optimistic Para fan, but I'm like, man, like the stars are starting to align again where like it's such an open comp. Like, why can't we make a run from 5th and win the thing, Like, even then, like, we could, we're into 7th or 8th now, I think, and, the draw isn't too bad from what I remember, and getting players back, like my guy Shaun Lane's coming back, and and it probably also hinges a little bit on what happens with Brown and how that all plays out. But even RC's been pretty good. Not that he's quite, he's not that obviously at that level, but he's been pretty capable. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah, no, that's.
I'm talking myself into it now.
No, it's certainly been a completely different year. We've had injuries, we've had suspensions, we've had playing teams off buys, we've had not having buys before Origin games, we've had obviously the Dylan Brown issue at the moment. So it's completely different to last year. But as you said, we're hanging in there in games, and previous years we probably would have put the queue in the rack and maybe had some points scored against us, and this year we're scoring points, and our for and against is plus the second best attack or second best for and against in the competition at the moment. So
and I feel like there's been a few things happening as well. Like for the last month, like Bailey Simonson's suddenly like quite good, which I've never really rated him. I've always been like, he just kind of exists and does his thing, but I'm like, he's been like low key really good. And I've been a little bit annoyed at Sivo recently where he hasn't kind of been running as hard as like what he has, but I feel like now he's getting back to that, just you're a big dude, just run really hard.
Yes, I've heard that commentary a lot. So
that's been that's something I've just been me and my Parramatta, we're just watching him. Sivo, just run, just run hard, like, and he does a little like kind of a slow walk, and you're like, man, just run. So there's things like that happening as well, which they're probably only things that like Para fans notice, but you go, they're all good things. And there's those, like, I'm a bit devil about Winham Greg getting getting injured, because I thought he kind of was that missing forward piece that to complement your Barlow and RCG, but even the forwards on the weekend were all awesome, like the bench guys as well. So it's like, if we can just piece these things together, like Gutho's, doing Gutho things, and even like bloody Bryce Cartwright, like I feel like he's having
a wow of a year.
Like, he was a bit of a laughing stock for a bit there where, no one really thought that he would be able to do anything, but he's a bit more of just like a solid second rower now, rather than that. Like, again, I was always been a Cardi fan because of his flashiness and offload from wherever, but he still has the Oslo, but he's a bit more controlled about it all now. So yeah, there's a lot of good signs, I reckon.
Well, Cartwright's in the team at the moment in place of, I'm assuming, your favourite player, Shaun Lane, of the current team?
Well...
Or does it go up and down as to who is your favourite?
Yeah, so it's definitely Lane, because Lane was one of those guys from... After he played like one game for the Bulldogs, I was like, man, I love this. He looks awesome. And so I'd like bought in really early, and even I remember we're doing like a fantasy football league, and I made like a really bad trade for him with another guy for Shaun Lane. I traded him like a really good player, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that, but I've got Shaun Lane." And I think he had like 5 good weeks that year for the Dogs, and then he went to the Warriors and kind of didn't really do much. And then he signed with Parramatta. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! Like, how good my guy." He was always someone that I just thought could be really good, but never quite put it together until kind of last year. And so it was nice to like have been, vindicated in a way where over the years I've been like, I love him, and have a bit of a soft spot as well because like I live in Wollongong now, but I was living in Sydney for quite a while and played a bit of OzTag, and a couple of people compared my OzTag style to Shaun Lane, and I feel like at first it was a bit of an insult. Like it was kind of before he had his good year, so they were saying that a couple of years ago, like just kind of a bit tall and just kind of run a decent line, and that's about all I've got in OzTag. And so like, you've been a bit of Shaun Lane about you, and then all of a sudden Shaun Lane got really good, and I was like, a bit of Shaun
definitely.
Lane. Shaun Lane's still my guy, and I hope they both. I mean, trying to work out what they'll do when Lane's back, but I think you just got to play them both in the second row and work out the rest. I don't think you can drop Cardi at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I think, maybe you'll find Lane and Cartwright in the second row, and maybe Maddo will stay at 5'8". He had an all right game on the weekend, and
he was all right. He just kind of felt like he was just run first, which I didn't mind. He's obviously pretty big, so he's like, I'll just run and then make a few passes, and he was all right. But even him as like, that bench guy as well, he obviously did that really well last year. So
yeah, that's it. Well, you've got the Parramatta Hawaiian shirt on there, and you're known for your loud style of shirts. Besides the one that you've got on there, is there a favourite piece of Eels merchandise that you've got, or memorabilia that you really love?
This one's pretty good. I actually don't know where it is, but I used to have like an old, I don't know, 01, 02 jersey.
Okay.
I think it's at my parents' home that had the kind of stripes across the shoulders, that style of, and like maybe like a Pertex sponsor but like really just reminded me of those, like the glory days of the Eels.
Yeah.
Always like that one. And I've got, actually it was so when I'm taking everyone behind the curtain here, but I helped and worked on the A-Land ad where you might have seen Troy at Combank Stadium, where it was their sponsor ad. I think it was last year where they kind of played at the stadium, and so I worked with the team that made that video basically, and as part of that shoot we went to Peter Wynn's store we spoke to him, spoke to you obviously, Troy, and we had to get a Parramatta jersey as part of that shoot. And so I was like, I'll just buy it. And so there was claimed it on my tax. I was like, well, I've got to buy this shirt for this Parramatta shoot. Like we had to use it as part of the shirt, part of the shoot. And so it was that the kind of 70s style, like long sleeve, like jersey. And so I always like that one as a bit of like an old school kind of flashback style jersey. And that's roll that one out, especially when it's a bit colder. It's a good one.
Yeah, no, it definitely goes all the way down, 3/4 length sleeves, and as you said, keeps you a little bit warmer. And that's where we did first meet on that A-Land project, and everyone used to remind me all the time, "Oh, Troy's on the screen again. Troy's on the screen again."
Screen.
Yeah,
that was it was a good one. It was a good one to have you involved in it. It was wanted the big fans and have a fan's perspective on it, as well as I think Moses and
I think Nathan Brown,
Nathan Brown, yeah.
Hayes Dunster, I think as well.
Yeah, Hayes. He was really lovely on Hayes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, no, it certainly was. Now, we just saw on the weekend the 40-year anniversary of the three-peat, 81, 82, 83. Is there any of the old players that you've gone back and watched highlights of that you've become a massive fan of?
Yeah, it's always. I feel really ripped off that. Yeah, I was born in '90, and so I'm like, I've just missed the kind of glory years of Para, but I think probably Sterlo's just the one that as obviously kind of grew up with him on like the Footy Show, and learning and getting to know him, like his personality, I guess, and then seeing him like actually playing footy is always kind of cool. But yeah, I just feel like. Yeah, almost annoyed that I wasn't born like 10 years earlier and could have had like actually seen a bloody Parramatta premiership.
Oh, don't worry about it. It'll happen.
It's coming. It's coming this year.
Yep.
I reckon.
Yep. Nah,
You heard
definitely.
it first.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Sterlo, the great immortal debate. Do you think Sterlo should be an immortal of rugby league, or even one of the other Parramatta premiership players from the 80s, like Cronin, Price, Kenny, one of those, or someone else?
Yeah. I always that immortal debate. I think it's just always so hard because it is quite subjective in a way. Like obviously you can go with your premierships and your Clive Churchills, that kind of thing, but I feel like everyone's just going to be unhappy with whatever you do, and so. Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion, to be honest. I mean, obviously, love to see Sterlo recognised on there, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like people get really tied down in that kind of debate when you can make arguments either way, and there's no like right or wrong answer. It's like the GOAT debate in sports, with like LeBron or MJ or like. Yeah. Tennis is like Federer or Rafa or Novak, and it's like, you can make arguments for everyone. Like, it was easier back then, or like, all these different things. So I never get too fired up about that as much as other topics.
So that I won't ask you who the GOAT of Parramatta is then.
I don't know. I don't know who that would be. The first one, I just think of Nathan Hindmarsh, but I don't know. Like, is he? Because, like, again, it's like, well, he didn't bloody win anything, really.
Yeah, as you said, there's so much debate, isn't there?
Yeah, so, I don't know, like, he played, a heap of games. And for me, like, I grew up watching him, so that, like, but I'm just very biased to, like, my experience. And so.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Is there a player that you would, that you haven't met, that you'd love to have a chat with and meet up and get an autograph or whatever, a picture?
Well, yeah, I did meet Moses on that shoot day, which was cool. I didn't get a photo with him, which I'm a bit annoyed about doing, but I was trying to be, you try and be professional on those things, and I had a bit of, good chat with him about some different things, and I think everyone got to start talking about, I think he owns part of a horse, or talking about horse racing.
Yeah, he does.
But maybe Shaun Lane. I've heard from the club as well that he's a pretty good dude. So, I'd like to be like, mate, I've supported you since the Bulldogs days. I've been with you, number one fan here. So that would be a fun chat, I reckon. And maybe let's lock him in.
All right, we'll put the call out here, Shaun Lane. If you're listening, watching,
Lane train, get in touch, mate.
Yeah. Have a chat with Edwin for sure, and get a picture and an autograph, and get him on the socials. And speaking of socials, you've been involved in social media for a while now, and you're the head honcho of the Social Sandwich, as I said. Tell us a little bit about that one and your experience in the social media world, because it's pretty much sort of taking over the world. Sort of everyone's on it and on different platforms as well.
Yeah, so ever since my Tennis Victoria days, which was probably 12 or so years ago, I've been kind of working in and around social media. Before it was kind of a job. Even it was just you're the young kid that's at work. You can do the social media as well as writing a newsletter or doing the website, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so ever since then, been working in and around it. Spent about 4.5 years at Channel 10, where I was social media producer there. Worked on Australian Survivor, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, a bit of sport as well. So did quite a bit of work on the Big Bash, the V8 Supercars, which was a fun one to kind of didn't know anything about supercars, but ended up at the tracks and kind of trying to learn on the go about how supercars work and all of that. But had some cool times working on those shows, and then basically have now started working for myself, where my kind of thinking was I want to use the knowledge that I have. I've worked on these big shows, run these big pages, grown a lot of pages from almost from zero to thousands of people. A lot of lessons that I've learned, and now try and share those lessons to people, help out small businesses, people that are trying to just use these platforms more effectively. And so I run a little business called The Social Sandwich. I post a lot of tips and tricks on probably Instagram's kind of the platform that I use the most because it's pretty relevant for most people now. And worked with a few different sporting teams and people as well over the last couple of years, which is always good. And it's a fun one because like I said, it's just a very important part of every business now to use these platforms effectively and kick some goals with them. So it's an interesting job, always changing. Things are always moving and updating, and the way you do things is very different now to what they were a few years ago. And it keeps me on my toes.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Where can people find you? The Social Sandwich?
Yeah, The Social Sandwich. Insta, Facebook, do a bit of tweeting as well. Check me out there if you want a bit more. And lots of free tips and tricks and stuff there. With a bit of fun as well, hopefully. Bit of Parramatta chat as well. I like to mix that in occasionally. And
yeah, no, that's for sure. We'll put the website, the website and the Twitter handles and whatever on Instagram handles in the show notes for you, for people to get in touch. And speaking of socials, how's Parramatta's socials? How do they rate?
Mate, they're pretty good actually. I often end up, especially on Twitter, I'll talk about what they're doing, and often in a positive light. And I always wonder if people think that I'm going to be really biased to Parramatta, obviously being a Para fan, but I think it's probably the opposite. Like, I think I'm probably more critical of them.
Okay, yeah.
Because, I want them to do a good job, and I also just see a lot of their posts. So I'm more exposed to their stuff than other clubs. So I think they made a few good hires towards the middle of last year, and they really changed up a bit of their approach, which I really like. Like, it's a bit more fun. Like they're doing things a little bit differently, especially with like their content, around announcements of players. So when they're doing that, it's a bit, when they announced Joe O, it was, they're just having a bit of fun with the content, which I really like. Like, that's a big thing that I always try and encourage people to do is, have a bit of fun and lean into that side of things. So, I'd put them in, the top 4 of teams on social media. Okay. The Rabbitohs do a really good job as well at their stuff. Even like the Titans actually are pretty good at their content and doing some cool things. And it's just the best teams are the ones that they give the stuff that you need, which is your updates and your teams and your injuries, but they do a bit more, and they tell you things, show you things that you might not have already seen, and you get to know the players a bit better, which I'm just the more that you can do that, the better off you're going to be, I reckon. Yeah, no,
I mean, obviously people think that I'm probably a bit biased as well, saying that Parramatta's one of the best as well, but there was a great post by South Sydney last week, I think it was. I can't remember what it was. It was a post about the bye, I think, that they beat the bye, or they got one coming up or something like that, and they couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was like a movie scene, I think, and then it was like, it was something about panicking or something. But it's kind of, it's turning, your messages, we're on a bye this week, into like actual content that's really shareable. And I think that's what the best teams are doing now, and we have to do that in the social media world that we live in. Like, we have to be better and more creative with our stuff, otherwise no one's going to see it, basically.
Yeah, that's it. Well, outside of clubs, what about content creators on social media for rugby league? Who are some of your favourites there that you like to see?
Yeah, I'm a little bit biased, but because I've done a little bit of work with him, but NRL Physio is a great example of just what you can with content, and just worked out what worked for him. So he's really good. NRL Roast as well, I think, has really been one of those original kind of content creators that has done some really good things just with the humour, especially. And even like Rugby League Guru. And I really like the way that even this weekend, Parramatta actually brought him, to the sidelines, and they're like bringing in those like, actual content creators as part of their crowd. They're, giving them free tickets to get them involved and invested in the in Parramatta, even though they're not Parramatta, like he's not a Parramatta fan, but I really like that, that approach. So, those guys kind of jump out as, not your traditional media types, but just people that have good rugby league knowledge and do a good job.
Yeah, I don't think the Guru follows anyone, to be honest, but I think he's a massive Jermaine Hopgood fan, so...
Yeah, no, that's it. I think he's... Yeah, maybe he doesn't. I thought maybe he was a Penrith fan, but I think maybe he's just from, like, out west somewhere, but yeah, loves a bit of Hopgood. Yeah, there was a good post that they did where I think Hopgood brushed him last time, and this time he gave him a hug, and they filmed it and just captured that and, shared it across Para and Guru's channels, which is just like really good social media execution. So I love that.
Yeah, no, that's it. Great guy, Nathan, or the Rugby League Guru, as he probably likes to be known as.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap things up with a personality set of 6 questions away from footy. So we'll start off with, what's your favourite sporting movie or documentary?
Does basketball count as a sport?
Well, yeah, it could be a comedy movie as well. Yeah.
A bit more silly, but I always love that, just like ridiculous.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, if people ask me, I'd say, Happy Gilmore or...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Happy Gilmore will be up there.
Talladega Nights or something like that.
Yeah, maybe even like the Mighty Ducks always liked.
Yeah, no, definitely. Whereabouts is your favourite holiday destination to get away to?
Probably just down the south coast of New South Wales, like down towards like Batemans Bay, back home. Lovely beaches. No one's there usually. So that'd be up there, I reckon. Apart from, I love a beach, so like a tropical, like a Fiji or something is always a good one. It's a bit easier to get down the coast than get to Fiji.
Yeah, for sure. Is there, we talked about, is there a Parramatta player that you'd like to meet? But is there a celebrity out there that you'd love to meet and have a chat with?
Yeah,
that you haven't met.
Bit of a thing for Ryan Reynolds. Always just love his movies and love his movies. He's also like a really smart marketer and does like a lot of really interesting things on social media. Love to talk to him about that, and even the way that he did the like when they bought the football team, they made the documentary Welcome to Wrexham about it, and how successful that's been. So I'd love that.
What's your specialty dish in the kitchen or on the barbecue?
I'm a decent enough cook. I love my slow cooker, so maybe just like a slow cooked chicken, like a Mexican chicken's pretty good. And then just with some little tacos, or get a few dinners out of it as well, make some nachos with it or something. So yeah, just a kind of spicy slow cooked chicken might be one of them, I reckon.
Yeah, well, certainly now's the time for it, being winter time.
Yeah,
put it on in the morning and having it at night. What 3 things wouldn't you want to eat on the I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here?
There's basically anything they feed them in those in the trials, because it's always like goat's testicles or like cow anus or like anything like that. Anything that comes from an animal, be no thanks.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. They don't look that good at all. And who's your favourite musical artist or band that you listen to?
So I like a bit of like the heavier music. So bands like Parkway Drive or Amity Affliction are kind of right up my alley. So from an Australian point of view, they're probably two of my faves that I'd have to say.
Yeah, nice. Well, Edwin Smith, thank you very much for joining me on the Parra Cave podcast today. It's been great to chat Parramatta and
Yeah, I loved it, Troy. Thank you for having me.
old times and talking about a bit of social media as well. And listeners and viewers, check out the Social Sandwich as well. Evan's got some great tips on Instagram of what you can do to improve your social media channels. And really appreciate you joining me today.
Too easy. Thanks for having me, Troy. And yeah, hopefully another couple of good wins for Para, get in that top four, make finals, make a run. We'll be talking next year and be like, man, how goes it when Para won the premiership?
That's it. Go Para.
Go Para.
And yes, welcome back, and thank you very much for listening to Edwin Smith and his rugby league supporting story of the Parramatta Eels. So some great memories there that he brought up of both himself following the Eels and myself as well. Brought back some good times and some memories, and also love to hear his thoughts about this year as well. So hopefully, as we both said, that hopefully Parramatta can win the comp this year, so it'd be great for both of us and thousands of other Parramatta Eels supporters as well. So thank you very much, Edwin, for your time and your chat. Now this will be available as well on YouTube in video form as well, the Parra Cave podcast on YouTube. So if you want to watch the interview, then by all means subscribe to the YouTube channel. It'll be up there, not too sure when, but it will be available there, but it will also available on here on Apple and Spotify or whichever podcast platform you are listening to. Now, the Social Sandwich, as I said, tips and updates about social media, a bit of social media coaching as well, as Edwin is. You can check that out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the rest of that, social media apps as well. Or you can head to thesocialsandwich.com.au, the website there, and you can check out and what Edwin does and gets into. You can contact him as well for some coaching as well. So check that one out. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. So support him as well for supporting me and coming on the podcast for a chat. Now, once again, a quick shout out and thanks to Jack's Pale Ale, a fantastic major sponsor of the podcast. Don't forget, Jack's Pale Ale is available to purchase in the club shop, perfect for that Eels fan or just your general beer lover as well. All we've got to do is just drop into the club shop and get yours today. Also, keep an eye out on the social media channels for what's happening at Parramatta Leagues Club each and every week, and especially on game days as well, as there's usually activities there in the club for both home games and away games. The Cumberland Throw, they do their podcast there for home games and some away games as well. So just check out the Parramatta Leagues Club socials for that one. And also away games, they'll have the games on in Sterlo's Bar as well. So check that one out as well. Co-sponsors, Beau Cook from Loan Market. His contact number is 0401 213 236. Get in contact with him for a free chat and see how he and his team can help you get on top of your home loan and find you that best deal. BTZD Teamwear as well. Head to their website, www.btzd.com.au, and check out their range of team sportswear and see what they can do for you. Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty. Get in contact with Shannon on 0421 588 445 for 5-star service from a 5-star real estate agent in the Glenmore Park and the Penrith LGA areas as well. So check that one out as well. thank you very much to the Parramatta Times as well, the official media partner of the podcast. Head to www.parramattatimes.com.au for details about your local Parramatta news. Now, the merchandise, the Paracave Podcast merchandise, it is still available. So if you would like to get a Paracave Podcast hat at the reasonable price of $15, all you need to do is just email the podcast at www.theparacavepodcast@yahoo.com and order yours now, or you can drop me a message on social media as well, wherever you see these advertised. Get in contact that way if that's easier for yourselves. Only $15 plus postage and handling. Get in quick and post your pictures on social media of yourself or others wearing the podcast hat. Any support would be most appreciated. I really thank you very much for that support. Also, you can get some Paracave Podcast polo shirts, the ones that you'll see myself wearing in videos online, and also in pictures as well. That they are available from BTZD Clothing. Now I have, I think, 2 large and 1 XL left as well. Now they're only at the reasonable price of $30 each, plus postage and handling. So same deal, if you want to get one of those, just send me a message on Instagram, Facebook, and we can arrange that, or just send an email to the address I mentioned before. Or if you would like to get a combo deal, you can get one for $40, which is a polo and a hat together. So as I said, I think I've got 2 large and 1 XL shirts left in this first batch. So if you want to get a combo deal, $40 for one of those. Now, special offer this weekend for anybody going to the Eels versus Dolphins game up there on the Sunshine Coast. If you would like to get a Paracave Podcast hat, just send me a message before Saturday and I will include it in, I'll bring it up with you so you don't have to pay postage and handling. Just meet me at the game and I will hand them out to you, and I'll do them for the special price of $10 each at the game. So send me a message beforehand on social media or an email and I will bring them with me. So for the special price of $10, so you won't have to pay postage and handling, and also a little bit of a discount as well. Thank you very much for the support of those that have already bought the merchandise. I really, really appreciate it. Now, speaking of the Dolphins game, I have a special competition. Thanks to the Parramatta Eels, they have generously donated 2 general admission tickets to the upcoming Warriors game at CommBank Stadium in a couple of weeks' time. We've got the Dolphins this week, then the bye, and then the Warriors game is on Saturday the 8th of July at 5:30 p.m. at CommBank Stadium, round 19. Now, I've got a couple of general admission tickets that I can give away on the podcast. Now, all you have to do is pick the first try scorer of the game. Now, it can be an Eels player or it can be a Dolphins player. I'll put a post up on Instagram. Just follow the Instagram Paracave Podcast page. Now, I'll put a post up there for the tickets and the competition. So you can pick a Eels player or a Dolphins player that is listed as starting or a reserve. And if it's a first try scorer and you pick it correctly, you will win the general admission tickets. Now, if multiple people choose the same player, then I will put them into a randomizer and we'll do a video and those tickets will be won through the randomizer. So if you want to if you want to attend that game and have the chance to attend it for nothing, then those 2 tickets generously donated from the Parramatta Eels, so general admission tickets to that game. So round 19 versus the Warriors, 5:30 p.m. at CommBank Stadium. So if nobody chooses the first try scorer, then I will consider putting the names into a draw anyway. If there is a person that picks a try scorer anytime during the game that they have picked as the first try scorer, then I'll put those names into a draw. So even if you pick a player who scores a try but isn't the first try scorer and nobody picks the first try scorer, then you'll go into the draw as well. So just put that on the social media post that I put up on Instagram. So check that one out when it comes out. So thank you very much to the Parramatta Eels for the tickets to the Warriors game. Have a great week as best you can. I hope your team gets up. If you're not an Eels fan like myself, I will hopefully see some of you up at Sunshine Coast Stadium for the Eels versus Dolphins game, the first time that the Eels have played the Dolphins. So I hope to see you up there. Come and say good day. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your footy. Follow the podcast on the social media channels and for some interesting content and to see who is coming up next. And if you would like to see anybody on the podcast, just send me a message and I'll see if I can get them on the show as well. So hopefully some really interesting guests coming up over the next few weeks. But to sign off the show, and as I always say, the Parra Cave podcast, by the fan, for the fans. Go Parra!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parra Cave Podcast. See you next time.